CASA is a national program. There's 27 CASA programs here in Virginia. The purpose of the CASA program is to provide advocates to the most vulnerable children in our communities, children that have been abused and neglected. And so we do that by a thorough vetting, screening, and training process. We find people in our community who go through about 35 to 40 hours of training and come on, and they are appointed by the court, and they take on a case involving either a child or a group of children, a sibling group. And the expectation is that they will stay on that case from beginning to the very end, and meaning when the case closes before the court. And their role is to be a voice for a child in a really chaotic, stressful, difficult system. They visit their children at least twice a month. They write reports for every single court hearing. They make recommendations to the court. They go to every meeting you can possibly imagine that involves their children. They advocate for them at school. If they're still in their home, they go and check out how things are going in the home. They observe visitation between children and their parents. And really their role is just to make sure that that child's voice is heard and that they stay the focus of the case, and just really to fight for their best interests.
It's a phenomenal value. The CASA volunteers are the voice of the children, especially for the judge and in front of the courts. So it's the child isn't in the courtroom. They're not speaking for themselves. They don't advocate for themselves, and that's what the adults are for. That's what the adult volunteers are for. But it's just a tremendous work that all the volunteers do in representing the children in this county.
So our volunteers are really diverse. There's no specific education requirement. We don't say you have to have been a lawyer. I mean, we have people that were scientists, teachers, social workers. We do have lawyers, nurses, but they kind of find us. We do a lot of outreach. We do a lot of social media blasts, trying to get people to come to our information sessions. Coming to an information session is the first step. And at those information sessions, we're really honest about what the job entails, and as a result, a lot of people self-remove at that point because it is a lot of work. I mean, we're basically asking people to take on a job and we're not paying them, and we're asking people to get involved in other people's lives, right?
It was a marvelous experience. It was quite a lot of training, actually, which is good because when you go out to these very difficult situations, it helps to have some idea of what you're supposed to be saying and doing.
Once people have said that they are interested, there's a really thorough screening process, background checks, interviews, and then we do a 35 to 40 hour training on every topic you can possibly imagine that will hopefully touch on what they will encounter during the time that they have a case. Sexual abuse, different types of abuse, domestic violence. We do a lot of training on cultural competency, talk about the court process, the different types of services kids and families should be getting, and then we send them out into the world to work their case.
It was an intense experience, actually, and they brought in guest speakers and so forth to tell us about some of what they had seen, what they had experienced, and then there are rules which govern CASAs too, and we were introduced to the supervisors, and everybody has a supervisor to help with the reports that they submit to the court and to make sure that the CASA volunteers are on track with their children and their cases.
And the supervisors really provide day in, day out support to their volunteers. The volunteers are the boots on the ground, right? They're on the line doing the work. And the supervisors are there to kind of help them, maybe if they've hit a roadblock and they're trying to get information and they're not getting that information. The supervisors can pick up the phone and call that person's supervisor, right? Supervisors also are really well versed in policies and in understanding of the laws and the way things have to be.
And that was all very helpful. So it was a very good system for being trained and then being deployed and not feeling like you were alone, so that if you had questions or problems, you could bring them to the supervisor.
So they're always supported. That's one thing we make sure, is that they're not alone in this. And we're really, really lucky. The people that do this work are amazing, and we trust them implicitly. The community trusts them, the court trusts them, and they really work very, very hard, and they give a tremendous amount to the children on their caseload.
It's a phenomenal organization. I can't say enough about the folks who work at CASA. They are not out in the field in the same way, but they have all the paperwork to deal with, all the training, constantly nurturing the volunteers as they go through sometimes very rough cases. It's really very commendable that people dedicate their lives to this kind of work. The volunteers certainly give a lot of their time, but nothing like these people. They're really saints on earth.
We take every single case before the court that is an abuse case. We're on automatic appointment, so it's not a case-by-case basis. We don't pick and choose. Whatever is before the court, we take the case. So we serve about 300 kids a year. That translates to about 175, 180 families. And as one case closes, a new case opens. So it's a pretty steady number of children on our caseload at any given time. We are a huge county, and our numbers, when you look at it per capita, are actually kind of low, but that's because we have such a robust mental health system here in Fairfax, as well as our school system is really, really versed at identifying children with special needs and who need help. So a lot of kids that in other jurisdictions would be receiving services through CPS, through DFS, they receive those services through the school or through the mental health services here in the county. So the children we serve are really those that are the most at risk, the most vulnerable, and who have endured pretty horrific circumstances. They've been abused and neglected.
It was really a joy to go out there in the battlefield a little bit and work with those children and try to get them to a better place, and to become friends with them, so that they felt like they had somebody who they could really count on and really talk to and tell anything to. And that's halfway of how you get to a good place or a better place for those children, besides advocating for them in court, which is of course also very important.
I know from working with the court, our judges are extremely grateful to the volunteers and to this program. We provide them with up-to-date, up-to-the-moment information. Our court reports go in 1 week before every single hearing. And the beauty of the CASA program is that our volunteers are typically assigned to one family at a time. The guardian ad litems, which is the attorney for the child, the social workers, the attorneys for the parents, are not assigned to one family at a time, right? They're assigned to multiple families, like lots and lots of families. So the CASA is kind of laser focused on that family and able to really keep a finger on the pulse of what's going on, especially in the children's lives. So the court is really appreciative and values the information that we provide. We make sure that the reports we send over are really thorough and full of factual information. There's not a lot of fluff in our reports. It's just the facts. And I think I know the court relies on those reports and the information in them. They tell us all the time.
But the judges are all very welcoming. They understand that the CASA knows about the children, something that no one else does. And they're very anxious to read the reports, and they read them really thoroughly. So they knew what we had seen of the child's home life, the child's problems, the child's progress or failure to progress. And so they took those reports to heart as they made their decisions.
As for the other parties in the case, I think that we have a really good working relationship with the Department of Family Services. And like I said earlier, the social workers often are juggling multiple cases. So having that extra set of eyes on a child really keeps those kids from slipping through the cracks. If the CASA goes out and sees something is going on, collaboratively, we can let the powers that be and the people that have to do something. We can notify them. So having that extra set of eyes and a good working relationship with the department really makes sure no child slips through the cracks. And the guardians ad litem, I think, rely very heavily on the CASA volunteers to provide them with the information that they need.
And that made you feel very good as a volunteer, that you had a good impact on a child's life that might serve them well in the future.
We've got some kids that have gotten scholarships to college and have gotten into very prestigious schools. We've got one kid that has an acceptance at William and Mary. That's a huge, huge success for that child, and a huge success for the CASA and the program to know that we made a difference and to help that child obtain a brighter future. All the way down to small successes, like, kids that need IEPs in school and need specialized education, and making sure that they have that to have those brighter futures. Making sure that adoptions go through on a timely manner so that a child can have their forever family as quick as possible.
It's hard at first to get to know the child, and the child is understandably a little nervous and maybe skeptical, hasn't had a lot of faith in adults. So you've got to build that faith. So you take them out places away from their home. That's what we did with one particular case. And he had never been anywhere, never done a whole lot of anything. So we took him to water parks and taught him how to fly a kite, taught him how to fish. So he got to do many things he had never been able to do. Even going to a museum was new for him. And that was great, because we opened his eyes to a whole new world, but along the way we became friends, and he trusted us. And we did get wonderful news that after we had 2 years with this particular child, we did get a wonderful letter from his mom thanking us for all we gave to him and saying that he was thriving and was graduating high school and just doing amazingly well. So those were 2 years that were obviously well invested in caring for a child.
The CASA programs are 100% funded on their own, right? We do not receive any funding from any national CASA programs, or we receive grants sometimes, but we are 100% funded through grants and donations, and none of the grants are ever guaranteed. And it's a lot of work, and it's incredible how many people within the community donate to this program. It's incredible how many of my volunteers donate to this program. So not only are they giving their time and running around and using their cars and spending money on gas, then they're donating to this program. And I'm just so grateful for that. But it's a really smart model in that we have these supervisors who are paid, and each supervisor then supervises up to 30 volunteers. And those volunteers are impacting the lives of all these children. So on average, each supervisor oversees about 60 to 70 children. So one paid supervisor is ensuring that 60 to 70 children are not falling through the cracks. It's pretty cost effective. So our costs consist of obviously salaries, insurances. We have to do a lot of background checks, rent. Anything it would take to normally run a nonprofit, we have those same expenses. And we are lucky that there are some grants out there that we take advantage of, and we've been lucky enough to get over the years. But the vast majority of our funding comes from donations and from individuals and from events like the race.
So this year is going to be our 12th annual Fairfax Run for the Children. We've been hosting this race since 2010. We're very excited to be back in person and to come together with the community this year after 2 years of holding the race virtually. And the race is really a community-centric event that serves as our flagship awareness and fundraising event. This race is held at the end of every April to coincide with Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. So we really leverage the fact that we're able to bring the community together for this event to really spread the word about child abuse prevention and child abuse awareness in the community. It also serves as our largest fundraiser, so that's crucial for us to be able to raise funds to ensure that our program can continue working and we can continue our mission to serve every single abused and neglected child in the community. We do it superhero themed to make it even more family friendly, and it really is an entire community celebration. So this year, our race is going to be a 3K, and it's just over a mile and a half, or sorry, just under a mile and a half. And the race, the route starts right in front of the courthouse, kind of turns out of the courthouse complex, comes down Main Street through Judicial, touches the neighborhoods a little bit, and then circles back around to finish at the courthouse again. So it's a quick, cute little run. That's a great way to get out on a Saturday morning and give back to the community, and you know, just have some time in downtown Fairfax. You know, the city's beautiful this time of year. You know, the cherry blossoms are blooming. We've got the azaleas in bloom. So it's just a great spring event.
The race is so much fun. It's such a fun day. It's probably the funnest day of the year for us. You know, we deal with child abuse and neglect, and it's a heavy topic, but that race is a fun day. And, you know, we have so much good stuff for families, and lots of food and music, and just general atmosphere is really uplifting.
So our race really brings out an entire diverse wealth of people. We've got everybody from our CASA volunteers showing up to run the race or be a volunteer, to families that have been doing this race all 12 years. Which is exciting, you know, because we've been able to see their kids grow up over those 12 years. And, you know, when they started out as toddlers and strollers, now they're out, you know, finishing the race and winning top finisher medal prizes. So that's so much fun and exciting. And we also get a lot of support from our sponsors. Our sponsors very frequently will end up hosting a race team themselves as a, you know, team building activity. So it really draws out everyone in the community.
You know, CASA's special interaction with the families in the neighborhoods where we actually do our work really meant something special to us. You know, we're in people's homes every day, and knowing that we see people sometimes that are not at their best moment in life, it really meant something to be able to figure out a way that we could help connect those things back together.
I was a CASA in the 2012 to 14 range, 12 to 13, in Lexington, Kentucky. And so I've done it firsthand, and I know how valuable the work is. I know what they go through trying to protect these kids, and really the family.
During our post-race celebration, our executive director is really able to connect with the community of supporters that show up on race day and let them know about the great work that our CASAs do. It always involves, you know, telling our stories and the stories of the kids that we work with and celebrating the successes that they've had this year.
Last year we had 126 CASA, that's okay. We had 126 CASA volunteers serve over 290 children from 175 families. We closed cases for 122 children, and we received 96 new children from the court. We wrote 300 comprehensive reports, and they were all accepted by the court, with 96% of our 1,400 recommendations being accepted. And as many of you know, 100% of our budget comes from these types of events and from fundraising and donations from people like you, and we couldn't do this without that funding. We've gained new volunteers from this event, new board members, new partners, so thank you for being here. Through your support, we are able to provide a CASA volunteer to every single child that the court sends our way, and that is something to celebrate. Over the last 33 years, we have served more than 7,000 children from Fairfax County, and we've trained over 1,800 citizens to be CASA volunteers. Those volunteers have been a part of thousands of children finding permanency and safety and achieving better outcomes.
All of these successes, big and large, that we celebrate throughout the year in our CASA office, the race really is a time to celebrate those successes with the community as well, and to let them know you can be a part of this work and you can support us, whether that's financially, whether that's in terms of volunteer hours, or if it's simply just helping spread the word about the program. All of our supporters can really be a hero for a child with the smallest of actions.
So I feel very fortunate to be part of this program and this community. And I just every day, the people that go out and do the work, the volunteers, they inspire me to come in and be here. And I'm just really grateful for what they do.
The rapid spread of the novel coronavirus led to one of the largest global economic shockwaves that we have felt in our lifetimes. For too many businesses and the individuals they employ, the impact was immediate and far more prolonged than anyone could have imagined. For households with savings, the impact could be absorbed for a while. For others, there was no safety net until our community came together, and with the support of the federal, state, local government, and community partners, we responded.
For one family who lost their housing because they just didn't know that these resources existed, it could be many, many years before they're able to get back on their feet. And so if we could help them for a couple months pay their rent as opposed to having them potentially be homeless for years, that's a good, wise investment. And so our goal with all of our federal dollars was to get them out the door as quickly as we could. And frankly, because the county has built a level of trust with the community and has so many community-based partnerships in the faith communities and the nonprofit communities, we literally had an arsenal of help to get that money out the door.
While the magnitude of this pandemic has been global, it's the individual families and their stories that matter most. Allie and her 2 adult daughters were stably employed by a local hotel in March 2020, but by April, all 3 had been laid off. With the eviction moratorium in place, the family was safe from eviction for the time being, but they were quickly stacking up big bills and rent debt while they looked for work. Unemployment insurance payments ended when the 2 adult daughters found part-time jobs, but Allie continued to struggle as a shoulder injury was keeping her from returning to regular work. Critical financial assistance from the county and our community has helped pay off the rental debt they had incurred so that they are not facing eviction today.
All people who contribute to our economy are important. And it doesn't matter what job you have or what your income is at the time of a pandemic, no matter how many resources you have, you still needed these folks on the front line. You needed a grocery store clerk to check groceries out for your family. You needed delivery truck drivers to get products to your home. And so I hope as a result of this, in terms of affordable housing, this changes the thought process a little bit, that these are real people. Not just numbers of units, not just amounts of money, but real people who work hard every day in our county and our community that are essential to our economy, that from time to time need supports, need affordable housing supports, need mental health supports, need other type of social supports that so many nonprofits in our community can provide.
Business closures have not been the sole impact to working in the pandemic. The impact on schools was severe. Maria is a single mom of 2 elementary school-aged boys. When the pandemic hit, she lost her job in retail. The elementary school closed and turned to virtual education. Maria had no support system to watch the boys during the day. She filed for unemployment, but the system was so overwhelmed it took over a year for payments to come through. Unable to work because she had no child care, Maria accrued significant debt. She has now been able to find work, and thanks to community support, contributions were made to bring down some of her debt.
You know, there are so many strong, long partnerships we've had with community and nonprofits throughout the county, like Good Shepherd Housing. And so we knew at the beginning that we were going to need their help, and that those partnerships were built during good times, and during challenging times is really when those are tested. And we were tested, our community-based nonprofits were tested, and they delivered for our community.
With the support of our community in Fairfax County, Good Shepherd Housing has distributed over $2.8 million in financial assistance, helping hundreds of families like Allie's and Maria's. Together, with your continued support, we are able to help families who may be struggling keep a place they call home.
Hello, I'm Don Frickel, and I'm honored to be the current president of Share Incorporated. Share Incorporated is an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization dedicated to helping the less fortunate in Great Falls, McLean, Pimmit Hills, and parts of Falls Church.
Our operations are totally dependent on volunteers and private donations since we have no paid staff, no contractors, and we receive no government funding.
Thanks to the generosity of our donors and volunteers, last year we provided assistance to more than 1,500 households containing about 4,000 family members, mostly children. Share's most visible activity is our food pantry and used clothing room. These facilities operate in donated space at the McLean Baptist Church. Share currently provides 1,000 bags of food and 225 bags of used clothing to clients per month. Since virtually all of these materials are donated by the community, it takes a large number of food drives and volunteer hours to maintain these levels of support. Share provides financial assistance to distressed households primarily to ward off evictions and utility shutoffs. Share operates a furniture program through which it provides donated furniture to needy families. Each Saturday, volunteer crews operate 2 trucks to conduct these activities. Last year, we made more than 500 pickups and deliveries, providing furnishings to more than 200 households, including about 600 household members, mostly children. Share provides rebuilt computers and printers to client families with school-aged children. This work is conducted by technically qualified high school-age volunteers. Our technology group also helps maintain our website and our client database. Share also runs a number of special events for clients, including food distributions at Thanksgiving and a major holiday event in December, including music, light refreshments, a visit by Santa Claus, and gifts tailored to family needs. We also distribute school supplies and provide haircuts to children of client families in August so that students are ready for school.
Donations that we receive come from participating faith communities, individuals, local businesses, and institutions like the McLean Community Foundation. Just as important as funding, though, is our ongoing need for new volunteers. If you think you might be interested, please check out our website or contact us directly. Share provides training and orientation for new volunteers. Thank you very much for supporting Share.